So there were certain phrases I came across whenever I would say to people that I would meet, say at parties or just in the course of my everyday life. Whenever I'd say, actually, I'm not that bothered about a relationship, or the answer to the question of, have you got a boyfriend? And I'd kind of joke and say, no, I don't have boyfriends, I have lovers. And I meant it sort of jokingly and flippantly, but some people would actually take it quite seriously. So typical things I'd say would be, oh, you must want to eventually, though. And I took real umbrance at that word eventually, because it's implying that the views that I have now are temporary or part-time, or in some way not yet formed, which I found incredibly patronizing. Or they'd say, oh, well, you just haven't met the right person yet. And again, that is so dismissive of your views and how much you know yourself. This right person, whoever he may have been at the time, apparently was responsible for one day making me want children, for one day making me like want to live with someone, for one day making me eternally happy. This right person, I think, is put on a pedestal, or was 10 years ago, and probably still is a little bit now. People kind of put that as, okay, that is the be all and end all. You just haven't met the right person. And there was no kind of recognition for actually we can be happy with ourselves and within ourselves. And then the other thing I'd hear was that, and I love this one, this is the best one. But won't you be lonely when you're older? As if, right? As if dating's only for young people, and as if there's no chance of you ever meeting someone when you get past a certain age, despite the fact, as I found when I researched the book 10 years ago, there are 60,000 single men over the age of 50 in the UK. The figure might have changed since then, but it certainly was when I wrote the book. So no, if I was getting lonely, I could probably try and date when I was 60. And also, I think, when people say, oh, won't you be lonely? It's like quite, it's not giving much credence to a relationship. It's like saying, oh, I'll have one for an insurance policy for when you can't feed yourself. Shouldn't you find a relationship now just so that they can care for you later? I mean, that's not very nice, is it? That is not very nice to your partner. So I just would find these phrases, this I was met with, people just genuinely couldn't understand it. Or the other phrase was oh, isn't that selfish? How is it? Are we supposed to dedicate our lives? Are we so brilliant that we need to dedicate our lives to meeting someone? Would be my response to that.
Was it selfish? Not just about the kids thing. Was it selfish about not necessarily being that fussed about a relationship as well?
Both, both.
Because the whole concept. Oh my God, Helen, there are like a million things that you've just said that I don't want to forget to pick up on. But the first thing I'm going to go back to that you said is it's this idea that being a single childless woman is only temporary. It's like we are, like, say someone like me, because obviously, as we know, you're in a relationship now, I'm not, and it's almost as if people are thinking, well, the life that she lives now must only be temporary until and it is. And I think you used the word insulting somewhere early in this conversation, and I totally agree with that, because it is insulting to single people, women and men, to imply that their lives are only temporary until they meet, like you say, the person. Because I don't feel like I'm living in a freaking waiting room. I feel like I'm living my life. And I find that so incredibly frustrating. So I wanted to pick up on that. And now I've completely forgotten what was the last thing that you said that I was going to be like, oh, you said your favorite. Oh, I know, the loneliness thing. Yes. So it's so interesting because this is such a big one, isn't it? People saying, "Aren't you worried you're going to be lonely?" Because, and I completely agree with what you said about it. But one thing I wanted to add is that it implies that you have to be in a relationship in order to not be lonely, and that's simply not the case. It's just you don't need a relationship to allay feelings of loneliness. I personally don't think
Mm,
loneliness stems from whether you're single or not. Loneliness stems from
exactly.
going on in your own head. But it just shows that people just don't understand. That sounds really sort of patronizing to everybody else, but I feel that that a lot of people do not seem to be able to grasp the concept that you can be single and not be lonely. You know what
Yeah,
I
and
mean?
and content, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it's in something that I wrote about in the book was that it's not necessarily people's part. I don't think it's necessarily the case that people are small-minded and believe this. It's the diet that we're fed in our society. So you only have to look at the media and read the language that is used around relationships. So as soon as any celebrity or any high-profile figure starts dating someone, you can guarantee that the paper, especially the Daily Mail, will say she's found happiness now, or she's like, she's having suffered, like having gone through like a tough time. She's now met someone, as if it's, you know, this a transitional kind of, you know, life path to tough time. Meet someone, now they're
She's made it.
happy.
She's made
Yeah.
it.
And the
That's
same with all the, you know, Hollywood films. The hero meets the heroine and then the credits roll. So that's, it's like the, as soon as you meet someone, it's like that's the ultimatum. Then the
yeah.
credits roll and it doesn't matter about the rest of their life. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
they meet someone, they're going to be happy now.
Yeah. And therein lies the irony of the whole thing, really, because we all know that a relationship does not equal happiness. And, you know, there have been studies that show that actually the happiest demographic, or one of the happiest demographics of people, are single women. I mean, you know, there is research on this, which I find really, really interesting. And for anyone who, you know, I think that people are, I don't know, actually, I'd love to get your opinion on this. Do you think that there is starting to be a shift? I mean, like you say, you wrote your book 10 years ago, and at the time, even your agent was like, oh, I don't think this is going to be particularly popular because no one wants to read about being single because everybody wants to get married. How much of a shift have you seen over the last 10 years, would you say?
Huge.